Well, Russia claims it fought two types of drone strikes launched by Ukraine Friday morning. One of them was apparently caught on video. Moscow says that's a sea drone attack on a naval base in southwestern Russia, which it says was repelled by its warships. Social media videos suggest one vessel may have been damaged, and northwest of there, Russian troops say they had success intercepting aerial drones in Crimea. Well, Ukraine is tempering down on expectations of its counteroffensive, which has slowed down to a crawl, partly because of Russian minefields. President Volodymyr Zelensky says that Russians are also trying to push back, but they're getting nowhere.
Frontline. The battles are tough. The occupiers are trying with all their might to stop our guys. The assaults are very fierce. But no matter what the enemy does, it is the Ukrainian forces that dominate.
Well, for more, Nada Bashir joins us from London. Good to have you with us, Nada. So what more can you tell us about that Ukrainian sea drone attack?
Well, we are just getting a new video of this now, which appears to show this boat being towed away from this naval base, despite earlier comments from the Russian Defense Ministry. But of course, we are also learning more about other drone attacks across Russian territory. We saw those attacks yesterday. 7 drones reportedly shot down, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, just southwest of Moscow. And in the early hours of this morning, the Russian Defense Ministry says its air defense systems were able to down 10 Ukrainian drones over occupied Crimea, causing no casualties and no infrastructural damage, according to the Defense Ministry. But of course, Linda, over the last few nights, we've also seen continued drone attacks across Ukrainian territory as well. And many of those drone attacks, largely Iranian-made Shahed attack drones, have been repelled by Ukraine's air defense systems. But of course, some have impacted infrastructure, have met their targets, particularly in the port city of Odessa, where those drone attacks have caused damage to port infrastructure and then, crucially, grain storage facilities as well. We heard from President Zelensky yesterday saying that since the beginning of this invasion last year, almost 2,000 drone attacks have been targeted towards Ukrainian territory.
And Nada, Ukrainians are cooling expectations on the progress with this counteroffensive that they've launched. Just explain further why.
Well, look, when we look at the videos from the front lines, assessments of statements from officials, it appears as though no major movements or progress has been made on the front lines over the last few days. And we've heard from Ukrainian officials over the last few days there have been gradual advances, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, but they say that their focus now is not on deadlines. They are not focused on the timing of this counteroffensive, but rather their main priority is focusing on protecting Ukrainian lives, and particularly protecting those of the Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines. And one of the key obstacles that Ukrainian soldiers are now facing across Ukraine's eastern front lines is the amount of territory across those eastern regions that have been mined by Russia. We've heard from one Ukrainian official saying that there are between 2 and 5 mines on average per square meter in some areas of the front lines, which is making it increasingly difficult for Ukrainian troops to operate on the ground. But at this stage, it appears as though that fighting is really concentrated on 2 key regions in the Zaporizhzhia region. But we continue to see that devastating artillery fire across that region, impacting civilian life day in, day out.